All right, let's just jump right in. We spend so much time worrying about the ethics of AI, right? But a really fascinating new paper suggests we might be pointing our fingers in the wrong direction. What if the real problem isn't the bot at all? What if it's us?
You know the drill. You see the headlines everywhere. The big fear is that AI systems themselves are going to be biased or make these awful, unfair decisions. And look, that's a totally valid thing to worry about. It gets a ton of attention for good reason. But this research, it just completely flips that script. It asks this kind of startling question. What if this simple act of interacting with an AI actually makes us, the humans, act less ethically? What if the bot, without even trying, is messing with our own moral compass? So, to see this in action, the researchers set up this negotiation game. The task was simple: split a pot of money. Now, when people were negotiating with another person, things were pretty standard. But the second they thought they were dealing with an AI chatbot, wow, just look at that jump on the chart. Selfishness, lying, it just shoots right up. And this wasn't just a fluke. Not at all. They ran 5 different experiments. We're talking everything from simple money games to really complex business negotiations. And every single time, the pattern was crystal clear. People just, well, they acted worse with the bots. They were way more likely to lie and act selfishly when up against an AI instead of a person. So, this leads to the million-dollar question. Why? Why is this happening? Is technology somehow just, I don't know, short-circuiting our better nature? Well, the answer, according to the research, lies in this really fascinating psychological process. It's a concept called ethical fading, and it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. The moral, the ethical part of a decision just sort of fades from view. We stop seeing a choice as a right versus wrong dilemma, and our brain reframes it as just a business decision or, a game to be won. And the craziest part is when that happens, we can do unethical things without even being aware of it. So how does this fading thing actually work? Well, it all kicks off the second you realize you're dealing with a machine. Suddenly, all those unwritten social rules we live by, be fair, be honest, they feel way less important. Your brain literally shifts gears from a social mindset to a transactional one. The goal just becomes to win. And as a result, the moral concerns that would normally be front and center, they just fade into the background. I love the metaphor the researchers use for this. They call it a moral mirror. Think about it. When we interact with other people, they act like a mirror, reflecting our own behavior back at us and keeping our moral sense in check. But in AI, it's not a mirror. It doesn't provide that reflection. And so we can step right over an ethical line and not even realize we've done it. But look, this isn't just some cool-sounding theory. To really prove that ethical fading was the real culprit, the researchers designed a series of really clever, high-stakes negotiations to see how people would actually behave. And they really put this to the test. In one study, people had to split a pot of cash. In another, a much more emotionally charged scenario, they negotiated how to divide up a family inheritance. And in a third, they were in a retail negotiation where they had a faulty coupon that could get them a huge unearned discount. In every single case, the pattern held. And let me be clear, this is not just some quirky little finding for a psychology journal. This matters, like right now. A recent McKinsey poll found that a whopping 78% of companies are already implementing AI. Companies like Walmart are using AI to negotiate with their suppliers. This means millions of us are having our ethical radars quietly turned down every day, potentially leading to this widespread unconscious drop in ethical behavior across the business world.
Okay, so this all sounds a little bleak, right? But this brings us to what might be the most important part. If interacting with AI can trigger this ethical fading, is there a way to reverse it? Can we keep our moral compass engaged even when we're talking to a bot?
And the answer, it turns out, is a surprising yes. And it's almost ridiculously simple. In their final study, the researchers told one group the AI was designed to be competitive, to win at all costs. They told another group the AI was designed to be cooperative, to find a win-win solution. The result? The group dealing with the cooperative AI showed significantly less ethical fading. They acted more fairly, more honestly. Just pause and think about what this means. It was the exact same AI. A simple change in how it was described was enough to keep people's moral radar switched on. The framing, the story we're told about the technology, is powerful enough to change our own behavior. That is a remarkably simple solution to a complex problem. And this isn't just about negotiating a better price online. As AI becomes our colleague, our customer service agent, and our partner in complex deals, understanding this psychological quirk is absolutely critical for how we design and roll out this technology responsibly. So, what can we do? The research offers some really clear takeaways. Companies can build ethical guardrails, starting with that simple but powerful fix, just telling users the AI is designed to be cooperative. We can also train people to recognize the risk of ethical fading in themselves. Ultimately, the focus can't just be on making the tech smarter. It has to be on building safeguards for our own very human psychology. And that leaves us with this final critical question. We're in this huge race to build more intelligent, more capable machines. But this research reminds us that the biggest challenge might not be in the code, but in our own minds. As we integrate AI into every part of our lives, who is responsible for making sure we don't lose a piece of ourselves in the process?